Thank you. So my story is a culmination of a few stories, but in 1988, I saw Denzel Washington do Richard III in the Delacorte in the park, and it had a profound effect on me. I didn't realize that a film actor had that type of theater chops. I had studied theater years ago, came back to New York, was living in New York. I had a daughter, a young daughter. Her mother and I had been separated, but we were parenting together. And we went to see this production, and I turned to her and said, if I get back into acting, and I had done some acting in school maybe 10, 15 years earlier, I said, I would like to be able to do the classics like Denzel. So what happened was I started to hang out in the East Village in New York at a spot called the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. And on the weekends, during the day, I would do odd and end jobs. I taught school. I did remodeling for apartments. But on the weekends, I would hang out down at this place called the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. And they would have poetry readings there Friday and Saturday nights. Then they would do a play. Then they would have jazz. Then they would have an open mic. It was probably one of the most creative places that I had ever been. And at the time, it was very hot. The spoken word was coming back, and it was becoming very popular around the country, poetry slams, if you will. So I remember in my journal, I used to write poems, and so I decided I would get up on the open mic and do some poems. Caught reading a couple of poems in the open mic, and a friend of mine came up and said, listen, I'm actually writing a play about this jazz musician I'd like you to read for me. So long story short, I read the role for him, and we ended up, putting a production together down at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Just happened so one of the evenings, there was a casting director there, and no one expected anybody from uptown to come that far east, if you know anything about New York and the East Village. It's very rare that you'll find a casting director that far downtown, and a big casting director at that. Her name was Meg Simon, and she was casting a lot of Broadway shows. She happened to be in the audience one night, but I didn't get a chance to meet her. She didn't get a chance to meet me. And about a year later, I got a phone call from her. And she said, I've been looking for you for a year. I saw you a year or so ago down at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe doing this play. And I have this role that I would love for you to come in and read for. And I hadn't been on the professional acting track up to that point. I was still reading poems and thinking, I want to get back into acting. I didn't really know how, what foot would I take, how do I define it for myself? So long story short, I went into the audition, I booked the role. It was a regional tour from Syracuse to Cleveland to Seattle, and then the play would come back to New York and have a run. And I thought it was a great opportunity because if I make it back to New York, then I can maybe get an agent. Long story short, I did the run, came back to New York, and Meg Simon helped me get an agent. And I started booking mainly the stuff that's in New York for television at the time was just Law and Order. That was the thing in New York. It was pretty much the only TV. Basically, most of the actors in New York were heading to LA to do pilot season. You'd come out for a couple of months, meet some people, audition. I didn't want to come to LA because I was a father.
Ron Cephas Jones, the Emmy-winning actor, best known for him playing William Hill on a certain sitcom or movie known as This Is Us, has died. He was just 66 years old. A representative for the actor actually came out and confirmed the death of Jones, and it's really very heartbreaking and very devastating. A couple of years ago, Ron Cephas Jones actually came out and said he was really struggling with health-related issues, most especially within his lungs. And today, his representatives have come out and actually released a statement which was really very heartbreaking. They said throughout the course of his career, his warmth, beauty, generosity, kindness, and heart were felt by anyone who had a good fortune of knowing him. The statement continued and said he began his career at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, like you've heard in the audio I've given you at the start of this video, and his love for the stage was present throughout his entire career, including his recent Tony nominated and Drama Desk Award winning performance for his role Clyde's on Broadway. Personally, I was a huge fan of Ron. Actually, this is a man, from what those people who were around him said, that his inner beauty and soul were always evident to the huge audiences he played to, and from his multi-Emmy award-winning performances on very popular sitcoms like This Is Us. He survived, by the way, by his daughter Jasmine Cephas Jones, like you can see her on the screen. Jones was best known for his role, like I've told you, on This Is Us as William Hill, and he featured on a couple of other sitcoms, movies like Law and Order, the likes of, which I really enjoy a lot. Sweet and Low Down, Half Nelson, There Is Across the Universe, that was, I think, released in 2007 or 2008. Then there is Glass Chin, that was released recently in 2014, and then so many other movies. So in December last year, he came out and said it was really a miracle for him to survive an operation which he went through of having double lungs being removed and actually given new ones. He said the procedure was really quite complicated, but of course the doctors, nurses at the Ronald Reagan Medical Center in 2020 were really very special to him and did everything they could to make him survive. He actually some months ago, and actually I think last year, he said that the issue basically that was disturbing him was a pulmonary blockage, something related to his lungs and the heart. But of course, in this moment in time, all we can say is RIP to the King, Ron.